Hello everyone, my name is Karina. I go by Cartsy on social media, and today we are making samurai footwear. I know I said the samurai armor video was going to be the last video before the reveal, but the reveal is taking more time than expected, so I decided to put out a bonus video this week. Now, some of you who have been following the series for a long time back on my Instagram may remember me posting this on my story when I was first starting with the research for the Kyoshi warriors. Now, at the beginning of my research, I randomly stumbled upon a video on how to make Waraji, and I'll have the word right here. Now, Waraji is a type of footwear that a lot of people in Japan wore, mainly the common people, but samurai wore these footwear too. A lot of examples out there of Waraji is made from a rice straw rope, but there's also examples of hemp and other materials being used to weave together this shoe. Now, there are many different types of Waraji, and I'm not entirely sure which one I made, but I do know that I made one almost completely the same as one in this image, which is of a samurai putting on Waraji. According to a website called Samurai Sword Store, Waraji became popular in the Edo period. When Japanese wore this footwear, they allowed their toes to protrude over the edge. There are really no strict rules that govern the use of the footwear. Tying this footwear depends on the preference of the user. The protruding toe in Waraji allows samurai to climb mountains, run, and even scale walls. Much like Suki did in the escape scene in Book 3, Episode 15, Boiling Rock. Suki is the leader of her band of Kyoshi warriors, and it would make most sense for her to be wearing Waraji, especially after seeing all the fight scenes she is in the Avatar series. The shoes provide a good grip even in the rainy seasons of Japan, and they are lightweight. Now, although they don't really last that long, they are actually easily replaced, because all you need is your feet and some rope, and then you're ready to go to make them. You don't need anything fancy like a wood board to weave them. Waraji is basically like a sandal. It provides a lot of motion with your ankles, so you have a lot of mobility. And one thing I noticed while wearing it myself was that the weave of it moves with your foot, which is something I found very interesting because suddenly I understood how samurai could scale walls and run in these things. In Avatar, the Kyoshi warriors are not seen wearing Waraji though. They're seen wearing this shoe. And the closest I found to that particular shoe that the Kyoshi warriors wear in Japanese history is leather shiatsu. Now, the only reason why I'm not making these is one, their difficulty, but two, I don't have that much information on that shoe. I will leave a link to it in the description below, but the problem with the shoe is although the website quotes a museum, as in where they got the image from, upon searching in the museum, I can't find the shoe. And I don't know how much I trust the reliability of the website. So because of that, I decided that since samurai shoes have a lot more information on them, I know exactly how to make them, they look fun to make, and they just make sense because samurai wore them. And because I'm doing so much comparing of the Kyoshi warrior design to samurai dress, it made sense that I would pick Waraji, especially after hearing about the scaling walls bit. Another interesting thing I found out about Waraji is that because it's basically a sandal, it prevents athlete's foot, which I found very fascinating. In this video, I will also be showing you a little bit about how to pattern and make tabi socks. Now, because tabi socks in history are made of woven materials, I'm going to be making them out of woven materials. Elastic fibers don't really become a thing till later on in history. It's more like a modern day thing. So although you may see a lot of people wearing knit tabi, for most of history they're made of woven material. Most people are only familiar with tabi socks being white, but actually in history there are many examples of tabi socks being brightly colored and having different prints. There are many examples of samurai wearing indigo tabi socks, a color most associated with samurai. Now, I want to take a moment to actually talk about indigo, because I found out some things I wasn't really aware of. Samurai wearing a lot of indigo makes perfect sense. Real indigo comes from a plant and has been farmed in Japan since at least the 16th century. The dye makes fabric stiffer and more odor and dirt resistant. It's also, in a way, fire retardant. There's a lot of examples in history of Japanese firefighters wearing a lot of indigo. And then also this material is good because it protects, and in that protection, it actually stops bacteria from growing in wounds, which makes sense why samurai would wear it. Now, obviously, I am not going to be making tabi socks with indigo dye. The real stuff is made in Japan, made from the plant. It takes a year to make it, and it takes days to dye fabric with it. and would be way outside my price range. However, I am making Tabi socks, but I'm just making them brown because the Kyoshi Warrior footwear has a lot of brown tones, as you can see. So that is the color I decided to go with instead. So, without further ado, let's make some samurai footwear. So what I am doing is I am wrapping up my foot, and I'm going to be doing this so I can get a Tabi pattern. So I am making Tabi out of woven material. Unfortunately, I've been unable to find any patterns or anything at all online that will help me figure out what the shapes are for a Tabi that is made out of woven material. So I'm going to have to go ahead and invent my own. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to be measuring both my feet and seeing which one is the longest, because I want my biggest foot, because remember, we mirror, our body mirrors each other, but they're not exact, and sometimes some limbs are a little bit just longer. Okay, so it looks like this is the foot that is like less than it's like 1/8 of an inch longer. My toes right here, just like a little smidge. So this is the foot I'm going to be using. So to get this done, I'm going to be covering my foot in plastic wrap. And I really hate this stuff, but this is literally the only way that I know of to get the pattern. So I'm going to try to be sparingly. I think the hardest thing about this pattern is going to be to get the in-between up for the toes, which is what I want. I think I'm going to start there. I have a foot. It's gonna be really scary to cut myself out of this, but like, I think it's gonna be worth it. So one thing that's very prominent about this is that there is a center seam. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark that. Okay, there we go. Wow, oh, my leg hurts. Okay. Okay, so when I originally made my Tabi, I made them super fast and I was working in the all-nighter for the samurai armor. So I don't have any good footage of me actually making these. So I thought what I will do is I will give you a little walkthrough explanation. So when you have the pattern, you have 3 pieces. And when you sew it, you want to sew this center front seam first up to a certain point because you want to allow room for the rest of your foot to go into the sock. After you have sewn that center front seam, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and attach the bottom. But what you're going to do is you're going to start from up here and then make your way around, stop at the back, make your way around, and then once you meet up at the back, that's when you're going to sew up the leg. And afterwards you can attach your straps. Now one thing I do want to mention is that if you ever have a bee that you sewed the pattern and then for some reason you still have some room around the sock where it's not lying perfectly, all you have to do is basically take a pin and mark where that is, turn the sock inside out, and then use that pin as an indication of where you need to sew to take in the sock. And then after a few tries, you'll be able to figure out exactly how to fit the sock for your foot. And that's basically how you make Tabi socks. Okay, so what I am attempting to do is weave some samurai shoes. And this was my first attempt. Now what happened was I made the cord too short, and also I was using a cord that was very, very thick and not really what I wanted. This is something I used for the armor, so I switched over to jute cord, and then I made my second tester. Now this one was more of a success, but again, my cord ended up being too short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this a little bit different. Eventually this will be a whole shoe, and it's going to be a sandal. But to start off, you're going to start with a length of rope that is 11 feet long. At least this is what I chose for my foot measurement. And then I made a knot at the end, put it in between my toes, and started deciding how long I was going to make it. Now, you want it to be just slightly longer than the length of your shoe, because what's gonna happen is that part of the shoe is gonna go up the back of your foot. Based off my trials, I decided that a 25-foot long piece of rope would be the best to weave the shoe for my foot size. So I began by making a knot and making sure the tail of the knot was along the outer ring. After that, you weave the rope through the first string, then you do it a second time. And the purpose of this is to cover the tail of the knot that you made. Then I take the string and I go under, over, under. Then I pull through. Then I'm gonna go under. And I'm gonna do that, but this time I'm gonna do the under, over, under again. Under, over, under. I'm gonna let go of this for a second because one thing that I found that makes this easier is grab a hold of the end, grab something, and start wrapping it around to act like a spool in a way, so that's easier to weave and deal with all of this yardage. Okay, it's at this point where you want to start making your loops. So what you're gonna do, let me go through the whole thing. You're gonna weave like normal, the over, under. But right here, you're gonna pull out. You do your weaving again. And now you're gonna make another loop. Now this is where I'm gonna start taking apart this again so that I just have the end, because I'm doing something very particular. What I'm doing is I'm grabbing the loop, I'm grabbing this, I'm going under the loop, over the loop, and then do the weaving pattern. And then you're gonna do the same thing with the other loop. Under, over it, making sure that you didn't make your loop too small, and then weave. Because now you have your 2 loops. And then you're going to continue. So, when it gets to this point, I make another loop. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger this time. Then I'm gonna make another loop. Then I'm gonna tie them off again and secure the other loop. And then I'm gonna continue weaving. So I have all this, and let me help you make more sense of this. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna tie a knot here. We're gonna do it again. Okay, so now that it's tied off, we have these 2 loops. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna give it another knot. Now the way this shoe works is this goes in between the toe. Undo the knot. You grab the cord, thread it through the loop, other cord, thread it through the loop. Now what we're gonna do is these back loops are gonna go into here. And then the rope that we just looped in the front goes into this loop. And then this is how you tie it. You're going to cross over. You're going to tuck this under the rope right there. Pull it through and do it to the other side as well. Pull it through. Then you're gonna wrap it around your leg and tie a bow. And that's how you put them on. Okay, so the only thing I have not figured out is how to end this string. Because of the material I chose, it's almost impossible to tuck it in. So what I'm gonna end up doing is probably just cut it short and then retighten it every time it comes loose. And without further ado, these are my finished Tabi socks and Waraji. I didn't think I was gonna be able to get to this step in the project because of time constraints and of everything I had to do already for the Kyoshi Warrior cosplay. But I am so happy that I had the time to sit down and actually weave these because it has been on my mind for many, many months. It was something so cool and mind-blowing that I just couldn't let go of it. And when it came to making bonus content for the Kyoshi Warrior series, I knew that the shoes were going to be it. Thank you so much for watching the bonus episode of the Kyoshi Warrior cosplay series and for following along with this series. I really enjoy making every episode, even if it takes me a very long time and I end up staying till like 3 o'clock in the morning working on these videos. The reveal video is coming soon, so please make sure to stay tuned for that. I'm working so hard on that video and I hope you all enjoy. Till next time, I'll see you then. Another interesting thing